Welcome to the second part of our visit with Ambiente in the north of England, a group of restaurants headquartered in York, offering a range of different sherry and tapas experiences for both tourists and locals alike. In part one, we got a feel for the different formats that Ambiente offer in York, and got to meet some of the core members of staff, including the founders, Tim and Zoe, understanding just how their business has developed and why, of course, from a sherry aficionado point of view, sherry has been such an integral part of their growth and their focus as a business. Join us now in part two as we venture some 20 miles away from the York headquarters of Ambiente to one of their other operations in the prosperous and very dynamic city of Leeds. Now, part of our visit was timed to coincide with International Sherry Week, which is something that perhaps you won't be surprised to hear Ambiente Group have taken very seriously for the past decade or so. And we were very fortunate to be invited to a special pairing of sherries and tapas at their Leeds branch in the Calls in Leeds, a very attractive Docklands canal side location. And there we had a chance to both see how they think about putting together a tasting menu from a chef's perspective, but also meet with the guest bodega for that particular evening, our old friends at Gonzalez Byass. These are wines that once dominated the world and made Jerez and the surrounding towns of the Sherry Triangle some of the richest places on earth. So firstly, let's kick things off by meeting with another core member of the Ambiente management team, Rob Scott South, who is the group general manager. He is also a true sherry aficionado, with being a certified sherry educator from the Consejo Regulador in Jerez, and also a man who's received a special honor from the Barbadillo Group for his services in the promotion of sherry. So really, we can say no more about Rob's commitment to sherry. He's here tonight because he will be the MC along with Hamish from Gonzalez Byass, who we'll meet a little bit later. But first I wanted to ask Rob a little bit about his sort of history with the group and how they think about sherry more generally before we come on to what we're going to experience this evening. I spend a lot of time visiting Spanish restaurants, Mediterranean restaurants, often in search of sherry. And many of them have one or two sherries on the list, some a few more, but I've never come across anywhere that makes such an effort, one to explain and communicate and evangelize for sherry, and has such a great selection. I was really blown away when I was here in the summer. How did that come about?
I think it just represents our passion for all the different bodegas in the Sherry Triangle. You kind of fall in love with one, and then you visit another, and you fall in love with that, and you just feel it's unfair not to have it on your list, So we try and provide the biggest range possible for people who are maybe newcomers to sherry, but also people who are, let's say, sherry aficionados to come and enjoy. So yeah, I think it's a constant quest to kind of find the best sherry at the right price as well, because of course, that's important for us as well.
Yeah, clearly the Consejo Regulador, the governing body of sherry, has been using the sort of food angle as one of the key platforms for trying to promote sherry globally. Yeah. So the Copa de Jerez, which happens each year, where sommeliers and chefs come together, not always who work together, and compete on a national basis and then internationally. for the crown, which is very prestigious, right? With some
absolutely.
very big names like Jantis Robertson and the like, judging the event. Is that something you guys have participated in?
No, I have been there as an observer on a media pass, which was good fun. Right. So I got to try some absolutely amazing food and meet some brilliant people as well. We won Best Sherry event, International Sherry Week event a couple of years running as well.
Did you? Great. Yeah.
So we've done a lot to promote sherry in the north of England. But I think for me, it's key that you're passionate about it first, and then everything else kind of flows through that.
Yeah. Now, as someone who constantly is attempting to introduce people myself to sherry, either whether I'm in Spain or when I'm having dinners and things, it's not always the easiest thing to do, as you probably know better than I. Explain to you, how do you guys think about trying to bring sherry to a broader public?
Well, first of all, I think you have to talk to people about sherry. It sounds like an obvious thing if you want to sell it, but I speak to a lot of people in the trade who can't understand how we sell so much, yet they have it hidden somewhere in their wine list and expect people to jump out and grab it. We put it front and centre of our list, and we engage with people about it. So, I'll ask the question, what do you think about sherry? And, quite typically that might be, well, my grandma drinks it. Or,
the usual stuff.
It's a Christmas drink, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then that just opens up a brilliant opportunity to kind of challenge someone's preconceptions and hopefully then provide a memorable experience to them.
Yeah. No, I think it can be done. It does require work.
Yeah.
And I think you're one of the biggest kind of customers of some of the sherry houses that supply the UK, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a really long-standing relationship with Gonzalez Byass, Barbadillo, Lustau, Valdespino as well.
Yeah.
So we work with a lot of the major bodegas and have a really good relationship, and that enables us in turn to be able to send our guys out there to learn more about sherry. So it's a virtuous circle, and I think that's another key thing that we do. We take our team out there so they can experience it, because I think, as you know, going out there and seeing it for yourself really does change your comprehension of it.
Totally, yeah, absolutely. So Sherry Week is upon us.
Yeah.
After experiencing in the summer this, I spoke to Tim and said, like, it'd be great, because I haven't ever filmed an episode in the UK. Everything I've done so far has been at a bodega in the Jerez, Marco de Jerez region. And it just seemed to me that given the efforts that's put together by you guys, if I'm going to do an event somewhere, this is the one that deserves to be featured for all the effort that's been put into it. So you've been supporting Sherry Week for a number of years, I know, but just want to talk me through what you're doing across I think 3 locations this year?
Yeah, so each night we have a different bodega, and we've designed a menu to work with 5 different sherries. So each evening our guests will be trying 5 different sherries paired with a tapas dish, and we really talk through it. It's just we try not to make it too much of a lecture. We try and keep it fun. You understand a lot of people are out for a nice entertaining evening, and hopefully by presenting it in a fun way and giving people a chance to try wines they've not had before, that's a really good gateway into people getting an interest for themselves without maybe making it becoming gatekeepers sometimes, where we go too hard with the science.
Yeah. You must be drinking your sherry. Yes. Yeah. Interesting. And which of the 3 bodegas you're featuring this week?
Yeah, so we've got Fernando de Castilla, we've got Gonzalez Byass, and we've got Bodegas Lustau as well. So
okay, well, you'll see links to my videos on each of those. Lustau hasn't come out yet, Fernando de Castilla hasn't come out, but they'll be coming out very soon. Barbadillo and Gonzalez Byass, yes, they're already in the system. We're going to talk to one of your chefs, I think, a bit later on about the process of thinking about a menu and how that works with the individual wines that are being selected for it. How do you guys think about putting those things together?
Well, I think the most important thing is you have to drink lots of sherry, because
well, I was thinking about it.
It's very important, your subject. So that's where that's the hard side of the job. But on a serious note, it is understanding the different styles and what they pair with. But the challenge is kind of coming up with exciting new combinations every year as well. So there are kind of classic pairings, typically Amontillado with artichokes, asparagus work really well. And you know, we always think about those classic pairings when we're doing a menu.
Particularly things that that other wines don't work very well with, right?
Well,
like
that's absolutely. That's why I specifically mentioned that, because obviously it's very difficult to pair with those. And then it's trying to do dishes that kind of represent us as well, and you know, you are catering for large numbers of people, so you're trying to make it interesting and accessible, and something that works really well with the wine. So there's lots of different factors, but as I said, it's experience, it's trial and error, and just making sure you enjoy it.
And a lot to think about. But each of the 3 events are sold out.
Yeah, it's been fantastic, and we've seen a growth, you know, every year with it. I've seen faces this year who I've seen the last 8-9 years we've been doing it. So we really do have people who are, you know, nearly obsessed with sherry as we are. You know, and you get, you know, when people do get into sherry, they do understand what an amazing wine it is and what a brilliant value wine it is. So we do see people come back time and time again to ask for it.
Right, that's great. Well, I look forward to meeting some of them later on tonight.
Absolutely.
And what about finding staff who I mean, you mentioned you invest a lot in training and developing them, so it's not just a spiel. They have to have that passion that goes through it. Do you find it difficult to get quality staff in this environment?
I think we have done very well. We obviously had a period of COVID which was difficult for the whole industry. We very consciously made sure we didn't make any of our team redundant, so it enabled us to trade very strongly out of it because we had no staffing issues. We kept all our team. You know, we do try and look after the guys. You know, as I said, we take our chefs and front of house team members out to Spain, not just the south. We're recently in Barcelona to see where our ovens are made in the restaurants. So I think it's about respecting your team and investing in them. I think people like learning things, and I think if you invest the time and give them that knowledge, they you know, they have loyalty to you as well. So our turnover of staff, I think, for industry standards is extremely good.
Interesting. And finally, your own journey with sherry. You have a glorious title of a sherry knight, I think it is. Was that conferred by Barbadillo? It
was quite a surreal evening, actually, because I knew nothing about it. I knew I was going out to San Luca, and then the night before I was told, oh, you're going to have to deliver a speech in Spanish to about 300 people in Hola magazine. My Spanish is kind of restaurant Spanish at best, so that was one of the most nerve-wracking things I've ever done. But it was a huge honour, and you know, I love Barbadillo, I love San Luca, and you know, it was kind of in recognition of the work we've done. You know, not just me, our entire team, to bring sherry to the north of England.
Superb.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. Great to talk to you. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
I guess we should salute.
Salute.
So before we get on to the food we're going to be experiencing this evening, let's start with the most important stuff for this channel, at least, the sherry. And I'm delighted to be able to meet with Hamish Bredlin from Gonzalez Byass UK, who has selected a special selection of wines for the tasting this evening. And I'm going to ask him to just tell us a little bit about his background and what's in store for us this evening from Gonzalez Byass. Hamish, great to meet you. Great to meet someone from Gonzalez Byass who's not in Jerez. As you'll see from many of my videos, which are linked upstairs, we've done quite a lot of work with Gonzalez Byass in Jerez and in the area. But Gonzalez Byass are one of the few organisations, I think, that actually have an infrastructure here in the UK. So maybe you could talk a bit about that and your role with the company.
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah, lovely to meet you too. Well, we're in dank Leeds at the moment, so apologies for the weather. It's not quite 35 degrees that Jerez is known for, but we indeed have a little sort of sidearm business called Gonzalez Byass UK, where we distribute our own wines and a few others from around the world that aren't Spanish. I live up in the north of England and really look after our national wholesalers who then service the on-trade, so places like we are now in Ambiente Tapas, and I help them sell delicious wines such as our sherries.
Indeed, and we're here, as you mentioned, for during International Sherry Week.
That's right.
It may not be 35 degrees outside, but it's warm and cosy inside here. And we've heard from the team here that there's a very special food pairing event going to occur here this evening. We're going to be part of. You're the guy who's supplying the wines this evening for us, so maybe talk a little bit about what we're going to experience this evening.
Absolutely. So you're quite right. International Sherry Week. I think this is the 13th iteration of it. And what it is really is a celebration of sherry. It's a great excuse to come and do an event like we're trying to do this evening, where we'll open perhaps some wines that are a little bit rarer, do a bit more deeper dive into education and really explain to people that sherry isn't just for Christmas and not just 2 or 3 big brands. So this evening we've got a kind of tutored tasting by myself and Rob from Ambiente, and we've got it paired with specific dishes. And so tonight we've got some really interesting wines. I've got 2 very, very special Finos, which are 2 from our Palmas range. So these are extraordinarily old Finos, testing the length of the floor, which we'll talk a bit in detail later. I then got our most fantastic favourite Palo Cortado, the Leonor. We then got our driest Oloroso, which is Alfonso, and then finally we finish on a bit of a legend. This is our Methuselah medium sherry. So it's a lovely spectrum of what we can offer.
Fantastic. And Antonio, when I was in, got a barrel and did the whole Palmer's story and how that works through. So anyone who wants to have a bit of revision on that, check that out as we go through. So that's fantastic. We can't wait to dive into them later. So now we know what wines we're going to be experiencing this evening. How's that going to map together with the food, which I guess is what most people are really here to experience this evening. I took a few moments to just talk to Johnny Cliff, who's the executive chef for the group, here of course tonight to supervise the delivery of the special tasting menu, as he's done in Hull and will do tomorrow night in York. But today we're in Leeds, so Johnny, thanks for welcoming us in close to your kitchen at least.
Very close.
It's a big night tonight for you. We're here in International Sherry Week, and tonight is your Leeds version of the sherry pairings that you've worked on. But before we get into that, maybe tell me a little bit about your background and how you came to be here today.
Yes, so I've been here for quite a while now. It's come up to 13, 14 years.
Oh wow, okay.
So first opened 15 years ago. And I joined them shortly after when we were just in Malton.
Right.
And then shortly after that we moved into York, Goodwingate, and since then we sort of opened a site every couple of years and have sort of grown with the company.
Right.
And yeah, sort of here 15 years later.
Wow, okay.
So it's been nice to grow with the company and move forward with it, and we've all learned, we've gone from this small place in Malton where tapas didn't really take off. So
Yeah, I was hearing the story of that earlier.
It's maybe a bit before its time in a farmer's market, but it soon became quite common culture now. Tapas, it's a household name, isn't it? People know, you get it in the supermarkets, Serrano, everything. So yeah, it's been great to be part of.
We know I was on the train from York here today, and there were a couple of people sitting in front of me, and they were talking about what they were doing for Christmas. And one of them mentioned, and then we go into Ambiente for tapas. It's great there, and I was like, really? Spontaneous. And then we were just having a coffee around the corner, and we said we were coming here. Didn't tell them why. And they were like, it's great there. Yeah, I've been there loads of times. So the reputation seems really good.
Yeah, I mean myself and Rob were talking about this earlier, that when we sort of go places, whether with the dentist and it just randomly crops up in conversation, because we've been in York for a long time, so we with the 3 sites there now as well, and Leeds and Hull, it's really sort of took off, and I think in York we're quite a sort of well-known sort of name, so it's good.
Yeah, well I say when I saw Tabanco Ambiente when I was just happened to be in York in the summer and was walking down the road, I was like, Ambiente? Oh no, not that one. Ambiente? No, not that one. So and they have a slightly different feel for them. It's a slightly different proposition.
I think that's what really works for Ambiente, certainly in York, is that you've got three restaurants, but they're completely different. Goodwingate was the first one. I think the bar there is probably one of the best places to enjoy a sherry.
It's a really cute place. I was there yesterday actually testing out your stuff, asking for a Fino, and I got a great explanation of the 3 different kinds that were available, which was good. It's 5 o'clock, so it was just me there.
No, the staff, sherry's always been sort of real forefront of Tim and Zoe's sort of idea of what they wanted to create. And it, up north, that sherry wasn't really a thing.
No.
And they've, we've made a lot of work. We take people to Spain, train the staff. And all the staff front of house, it's part of their training to know everything there is about sherry. Yeah,
and it makes such a huge. It's so hard to really get your head around it unless you are in the situation. I think.
Yeah, I think it's becoming more and more well known. In the past, it was what your grandma drinks for Christmas.
Yeah.
Now it's a great pairing for food. It's so diverse. There's so many different flavours, even within the same sort of styles. It's it works so much better with food.
Yeah, and what's your, clearly it is very much connected to what you do in a restaurant. What's your sort of personal journey with sherry been?
So it's purely through Ambiente. So again, never had it before I started Ambiente. And I think it's one of those, it kind of, you learn from tasting it and trying it, and you know, when you go out to Jerez, it's the culture, the history behind it, the aging of it, and you sort of start off, and out there it's just like the Fino's like water. It's unbelievable, and with the food, the fresh fish, it's so I think. But over here, I think because we've got so much, we've probably got more sort of variance in food. You know, we can do different seasons, so we've got the fish, but then we've got game as well, which you know works fantastically with some of the slightly deeper sherries, and I think, yeah, I love it. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. So obviously there's a lot to work with, but what do you think about when you've got an event like this? You've got 50 plus people coming in this evening. You've got a particular bodega. I think it's called Gonzalez Byass this evening. So you sort of understand the wines. Do you select which wines they're going to feature, or do you have just have a conversation with them?
Okay. Yeah. So obviously we're probably 10 years into now International Sherry Week now.
Yeah.
And you know, it's been learning each time. Every time it's a different menu. We always work with what's in season, and it's a great time of year for this country. You know, shooting season's just started.
Yeah.
So you've got lots of great sort of products out there, and I think it's just learning from the very start that obviously you work through, you know, if it swims, if it flies, if it walks.
That stuff. Yeah.
And then you think, well, that's just kind of scratching the surface, and I think that's kind of how they wanted sherry to start with food, and now there's a lot more going on. You know, there's spices getting involved, there's all sorts. So yeah, it's really interesting.
So do you go through the sort of Copa de Jerez entrance each year? And
I've looked at it, yeah, but I mean, it's not something I mean, Rob obviously sort of went down there, but you know, that's a different level.
It's super complicated, and I mean, there's all the local heats and the rest of it to get to it, and it's got. I've not been to that, but next year I think I'm going to try and go, because I think that every other year they do a forum of discussions as well around it, so it'd be a good time to be back there.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be an experience.
So what's on the menu for tonight then?
So tonight, when people arrive, they just get some lovely Valencian almonds. Just again, people have an arrival drink, nice and refreshing, dry.
Yeah.
And then we've got a scallop that's done with a tikka masala sauce. So it's that sort of with the Fino, which is like a really nice combination. So it's not overly heated, but it's got enough depth and fatty content with the nuts in the sauce, so that the Fino cuts through that. So that's a really nice starter. And then we sort of move through basically the spectrum of the sherries, and with each one the food. So keeping it seasonal, we've got a lovely wild mushroom and chestnut caldosa, which is served with a mushroom veloute and Josper roasted butternut squash.
Okay, the Josper oven.
Oven, yep. So massive feature in all our restaurants. Well, 3 of them. So Barcelona, amazing bit of kit, charcoal oven. Yeah, brilliant. And then we move on to the duck. So I've just made a nice caramelised onion, which again, Josper roasted onions, so they get really nice depth to them, with a Comté cheese, not Spanish, but a lovely nutty flavour that works well with the sherry. And in there you've got the confit duck leg, and it's served with the duck breast on the side and a watercress salsa verde. So again, it's just got the nuttiness, the depth, the richness.
Okay, yeah,
but it's also got the sharpness as well, which goes really well. And then the next course, we have a lovely Iberico pork cheek, which is slow braised in our PX and red wine.
Right.
Then we've made a pig head croquette, so we've just braised down the jowls of the head, shredded them down, added some hot to give it a seasoning, got some capers in there for a bit of sharpness as well, so you've got really rich cheek, salty sharp croquette, and then that's just done with some nice duck fat roasted carrots and some smoked apple sauce. I mean, obviously we did the first one last night, second one tonight, third one tomorrow night in Tabanco.
Right.
And then dessert is...
Are the menus the same in the 3 locations?
Same in all 3.
Okay.
Yeah, same in all 3. Different every year, but same for the 3 nights.
Well, mate, the logistics otherwise would be a nightmare, I imagine.
And I sort of plan them, prep them, and then deliver them in each site with the help of the teams on site. So it's quite nice. Myself and Rob obviously do like a tour of all the sites. So finishing in York, where obviously we're based, so it's quite a nice finish to the sort of the lap of Ambiente's.
Well, unfortunately, you'll see us again there tomorrow, so no escape.
Yeah. And dessert. So we do Bass cheesecake. So we do it in all the sites, currently on the menu, but just a standard vanilla burnt Bass cheesecake. But for tonight, we've done it with the dark bit of chocolate, and that's with molten salt as well, which goes really well with the Pedro Jimenez.
Oh, right, that sounds great. Yeah. So, great. Well, looking forward to seeing it all. Yeah. Cheers. Thank you very much. Good luck this evening and tomorrow.
Thank you.
Cheers. So I hope it's clear now why I had to come back to Yorkshire to celebrate International Sherry Week with my newfound friends here at Ambiente. If this channel is on a mission to showcase the value, diversity and quality of sherry wines, then I couldn't have found more kindred spirits than Rob, Johnny, Tim and Zoe, who had the wherewithal to found this business in the first place, and everyone else here at the Ambiente Group who clearly share love of the great sherry wines. And when you look at what Ambiente are doing, not just for International Sherry Week, but across the whole year, in terms of promoting sherry and in terms of encouraging people to try new things, isn't it remarkable that more Mediterranean and particularly Spanish restaurants don't make more effort to communicate the great value proposition that sherry offers? It's interesting to know that the 3 events that Ambiente have set up across the region this week were sold out weeks ago. So there is a market there, but you have to make the effort to create the market, as they're doing so much here, and as we're trying to do on this channel. We've had 2 very special meals here this week. This evening with our friends from Gonzalez Byass, and again you can see my videos for Gonzalez Byass linked below, and with Lustau yesterday evening. Again, my videos from Lustau are not ready yet, but they're coming soon, so look out for those. So I'd love to hear about your experiences with Ambiente, or Lustau, or Gonzalez Byass, or anything related to those areas. Please do like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us to keep this message going and communicate it further in the future. I'd also love to hear from anyone who's come across a sherry bar or a restaurant that's making a similar effort to promote sherry wines. If you let me know who they are, if I can physically get there in time, we will showcase them in another episode of Sherry Aficionado. But until then, salud y nos vemos.